So the students are joining. Good morning, everyone. Very good morning to one and all. So we are getting messages from the students. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
There's no sir here.
The number is quickly increasing. I guess they were waiting for you, Rahul.
Good. I'd love to have a chat with them.
So let's get started, Rahul. And good morning, everyone. I welcome you to another series or another episode of our series, webinar series, Wednesday with Alumni. And today we have with us Rahul Chandra. So let's know about Rahul first. So Rahul Chandra is a marketing leader with over a decade of experience with leading MNCs across the globe in formulating strategy, leading teams, scaling up portfolios, and managing P&L responsibilities for markets in Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Currently, he is the head of marketing and board member at Stanley Black & Decker. Stanley Black & Decker is the world's largest manufacturer of tools and is diversified into businesses like civil, aviation, oil and gas, security, automation, and consumer. He has previously helped scale up businesses with Bosch and Siemens and LG Electronics in Asia Pacific. Rahul, we welcome you for today's webinar. Now the platform is all yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, guys.
So everyone is saying good morning.
They won't be able to interact with me as I'd like to be, but then that's fine. I understand the limitations.
Yeah, but in the chat box, if you can see, there are like many good morning coming to you. Even if they have some questions, they'll write down in Q&A and I'll be taking them with you.
Perfect, that works for me. So the orientation program, pleasantries aside, and thank you so much for the warm welcome extended to me. I think I want to be that senior that I wanted to hear when I was at the orientation program over a decade back. You know, this transports me back to 13 years ago when I heard all these guest speakers bombarding us with all technical details of who does what and how, which industry they are from, what are the complexities they deal with. It was extremely boring at the point in time. It made it so difficult for me to survive the sessions back then that after the orientation program was over, I understood that the struggle has officially begun. So as a correction from my side, what I'd like to do is I'd like to promise the entire batch two things, okay? I want to be honest and I want it to be interesting. Because these are the first two things that come to my mind whenever I ISB&M Kolkata. So I'll set a few facts right. I was never academically brilliant. I was never the brightest person in the room. I was never the best speaker. I joined ISB&M Kolkata and I'm so proud of it. But it's a fact that I applied for ISB&M Pune as well. You might also know that I bagged the first offer that came to campus, but I got placed in a rural part of India, which I did not want to go to. I was placed in sales, although there were marketing roles available, and I was placed in telecom. So just think of it, guys, LG mobiles. Who buys LG mobiles? So all of that combined, and then to add to that, I was almost on the verge of being removed from service on my first day at work. These are all matter of facts. I say all of this to you because it was at ISB&M Kolkata that I got to the point where I started feeling comfortable confronting my failures. And I share this because I don't want you to hear me as an achiever here. You are all at the crossroads, okay? And I come to a point where I want to understand what I wanted to hear. And all I seek from this session is to leave a mark on at least one of you to keep pursuing your dreams, your conviction, and never quit being who you are, okay? In my 2 years at ISB&M, if I talk about it, I will probably go back to the time that I was placed in Bahadurgarh and Jajjar. I don't know how many of you know this, know the places, but they were pretty remote. Yeah, Haryana. Ritesh knows his geography.
Yeah.
Ritesh knows his geography. I'm happy. Yeah. So I was placed there. The stakeholders did not fancy English as a favored language. I did not know theirs. So we spoke the language of business. And you know what that came from? There's this concept in the US of the elevator pitch. Because the chance that an underdog gets to impress his bosses and his management is 30 seconds while they're on the same elevator, while they go up. All that you get is 30 seconds. If you say something interesting and it catches their eye, or they tend to remember you, you're favored more. We got this as an extension when Dr. Kumar used to fly down to Calcutta, and he used to fly down pretty frequently. He used to come to the campus via a Lancer. So we started calling it the Lancer pitch and not the elevator pitch, because we used to make sure we'll talk to the driver, we'll know exactly when his flight's arriving, we'll go and fetch him, we'll accompany him while on his way from the airport to the campus, taking full advantage of the fact that we were in pack and leveraging that to our best, and then trying to push our agendas with him. Okay, that's where we championed the Lancer pitch, and we use that to our advantage. Now, how does that help me when I join LG? I am stranded in this rural area for 6 months.
Oh my gosh.
I do not know what to do. I don't speak their language. I have decently been able to survive. And there's this business group head who's supposed to visit the market from Greater Noida, of course. And for some reason, the branch manager was not available at the time. So he said, okay, Rahul, why can't you do the errands? Why can't you take him around the market? And the Lancer pitch then transformed to an Innova pitch, because the business group head was moving around in an Innova. It was then that I had a discussion, a brief one, and I understood that this is my 30 seconds. This is my elevator pitch. That 30 seconds helped me move into the corporate. He moved me into the product insights team in a matter of a month. A newbie who's gone as per the structure of the organization, alongside the hierarchies, being placed in a rural market in sales, suddenly being plucked out and put in the India Insights team. So this is what ISB&M does, and more so Kolkata, because you are a perpetual underdog. Okay? And the underdogs know to fight better when they come out. I was a pack coordinator. We understood guerrilla tactics back then, because in 2008-10 was a time when the world saw a meltdown. There were recessionary conditions and jobs were very difficult to find. That's when we understood that from my counterpart in Pune, who's now more of a brother than a friend, Karan, that Darashaw is coming to campus. We were all pursuing for Darashaw at that point in time. We knew that Darashaw would not come to 2 campuses. So what do? We ensure that we set up a team. They pay for their own. We fly down to Pune and we say, hey, we want to appear for the campus interview as well. So there are 26 of us that fly down to Pune. Where do we stay? Of the 26, 15 or 16 people already have friends in the Nande campus, and they shift with them. The others stay in the common area. 2 days, campus interviews, we're all there, having a party, making sure that at least some of us get. So we had zero entitlement thinking. I was the first to place in campus. That was in August, and I was the last to leave the campus. That was in the June, because 1st of June I joined LG. I think the day before was my last day at the campus, trying to place my peers. So what I understood in my stint are two things. You will come across a time where you will be placed where you don't want to be, but you should always wait for that one opportunity and make the most of that opportunity. Play it in your mind. Know that that opportunity will come. But if that opportunity comes, capitalize on that opportunity, please. Because I don't know how often opportunities will come. They will come at the end of the day. And the second aspect is, do not take anything for granted. I have visited the new Kolkata campus. It's fantastic. It looks amazing. We graduated in a campus that was a building. We didn't have boarding facilities there. All these add on to the entire experience that we saw in Nanded when we were there for certain events. We envied the guys who were at the Nanded campus. The same kind of infrastructure has been extended to Calcutta, and I'm so grateful. And I think this is the right investment made for talents in the Eastern region. And I won't really talk about the Eastern region only. I talk about the entire India to look at these campuses, and these are state of art. The person who's running the institute is a visionary, and the faculty best in class. So I think that prepares you to the demands and pressures of the industry. I remember in one of the sessions that Dr. Kumar takes. Now, Dr. Kumar is very savvy with regards to late night sessions, and I think he would still be one who fancies the late night sessions, right? So
he's still the same.
Something should not change.
Yeah.
I think one of the sessions was particularly interesting and left a mark in me, was about the game theory. Now, he spoke of game theory, and I think a lot of us know the game theory, but for the newcomers who are in the orientation program, game theory entails two sort of conditions, right? It entails the finite game theory condition, where you have the specific set of rules, you've got a specific number of players, you've got a specific objective. And then the task that you have is to win. Oh yes, I remember the Sher-e-Punjab nights. All the time. So we used to try and take Dr. Kumar. We used to fly him to Sher-e-Punjab. He was a sport. Even if he's taking a flight, it's late night. I'm sure he had a hard day, but he would be up for it. He would be up for 4 or 5 over enthusiastic young guys who are trying to push their agenda through, and he'll play the devil's advocate even midnight. He'll try and question us, he'll push us, but then those were amazing times. So coming back to the finite game theory concept, now you've got set of rules, and that is what everyone has been through while they have moved into ISB&M. This is the juncture where you've always been a finite game player. Now, from ISB&M onwards is the time when you talk about infinite games. There will be no set of rules. The rules will keep on changing. The players would be variable, right? So the number of people entering or exiting a game would depend on the condition. There are no set rules. And the only way to win is to perpetuate the game, to be in the game, not to win the game. So if you take a real life example of this, if I extend this to say a cricket match, you've got 11 set of players on both the sides. The team that scores more wins at the end of the day, right? Here it's not the case. You have different set of rules today. What if the market crashes tomorrow? What if commodity prices increases? What happens if semiconductors are in short supplies? We are in a business where we make 70% of hydraulic engineered products for Ford. Now, Ford is having a huge issue with regards to the lack of semiconductors in the market. They're not being able to produce automatic cars. The trickle-down effect is to our business. Just an example, no technical details there. So you will be a part of the infinite game. It's important that you understand that you're transforming from a finite player to an infinite player. And that is where the role and the vision of Dr. Kumar comes in, and Miss and Arpita ma'am. They are visionaries. They've seen that people have to move out of their comfort zone to think differently. You cannot be in your comfort zone and grow. You might be able to grow in a process, but your entire career would not be in a process. Not so in today's day and age. This is where I come to another story, and I think stories help explain experiences better. So while in LG, when I moved into the India Insights team, I was tasked with the India Insights team to go and do focus group discussions all over India for 6 months. So we visited 28, 29 towns, did focus groups, came back and presented our learnings. So of the learnings, we had to suggest something. We had a lot of proposals that came in. One of the proposals was, we saw in the rural village, electrification was a main issue. And we thought, okay, electrification is an issue. Power cuts are rampant, especially in the south of India. If students are from south of India, you had back in the days, 6 to 7 hours of regular power cuts. Now, the residents there were not able to save food in their refrigerators back in the days, because they knew that the power cut would not allow the longevity of that food. So the whole concept that we brought forward to the management there was, why don't we look at a solution where we have a refrigerator that will still keep food cool for up to 5-6 hours of the power cut. I think that would solve a lot of the rural India problem. When we presented this, we were slammed. We were told that this does not make sense. We do not have a technology that can probably help us leverage this. The plant slammed us. The factory in Noida and Pune, we have 2 factories, slammed us. We understood that, okay, this cannot go through. The person who had actually bought me in a couple of days later talks to me and asks me, how did it go? I said that, hey, I think it's time now that I will be again transported to another rural market, because I don't see them seeing any benefit. So he wanted to see what the plan was from the 3 of us. So we were a group of 3 people, 2 from the plant. And then we pitched it to the managing director then. He particularly liked the idea and he asked us to liaise directly with the Korea operations. So we were a team, then we were fortified. So we had a team of another 2 people join us. And we were a team of 5 people who worked for 2 years on this concept. And that is where visionary leadership comes in. They did not see ROI in 5 people whom they are paying salaries for, making them do something that will not immediately add to their bottom line, now their top line, but work on it where they see a future. Exactly in 2012 is when we launched the Power Cut Evercool. Now this became a trademark. So the patent was in our names for 5 years, I think till 2017, we had it. Power Cut Evercool is the official technology that allows refrigerators to keep cool with the help of a technology called thermosiphon, where you can keep the temperature inside the fridge the same for up to 8 hours of power cuts. This helped leverage LG's moves in the direct cool and in the frost-free division drastically. If you would look at the market share growth from 2013 to 2017, it's been massive. LG had almost 30-35% market share all across, and it took the longest time for competition to devise something that is as similar as that. So cut to the chase, was that the intention? The intention was never to gain market share. The intention was to understand what the customer's needs were. And the intention was also to be convinced on what you believed in and not be deterred by what the immediates say. You would have ideas. If they are brushed aside, don't be deterred. And this is one of the learnings that we had from ISB&M, specifically Calcutta. We encouraged people to speak their mind up, and there are no stupid ideas. There might be the next big idea coming from you that might seem extremely improbable today. So from there, it gave me sort of a good leverage to move to another organization called Bosch & Siemens. Now, moving from the Korean culture to a German sophisticated culture, which does not want you to work long hours, and they're talking about mental well-being and health and sanitization. They're talking about engineering prowess. So the entire language, the lingo of the organization was completely different, and that got me off guard. Honestly, I was expecting people to be a little more on point, and they were very soft. So the new culture that I've come to. And then when I moved to Stanley Black & Decker, this is a melting pot. So in my floor here, I've got, I think, 40 nationalities here. So just think of it, I've got 12 different nationalities in my team. So if you look at my WhatsApp group that I have for my team, I think every team has a WhatsApp group. That's also one of the problems. I cannot send a specific emoji because I do not know it can offend one of the nationalities at the end of the day. So no emojis, please. So that's how it is being in a diverse, in a global environment. But that said, I think if I talk about the rewards of being in the corporate, I think there are plenty. I love personally traveling. My work for the longest period of time has allowed me to travel, at times almost excessively. It makes me happy that I constantly look for making a difference, and I've been able to do that at this point in time. So till this time, so that makes me happy. While I moved into the global environment, one of the things that I had to shed was my elitist bong self. Okay, when I was in ISB&M, I had my group of friends all bongs. For some reason, I had a lot of friends who were not from my community, but I wasn't comfortable in having them very close to me. I think this is something that is inherent in a lot of people. I believe this adage actually works, and it's something that we have to actively work on. Birds of the same feather flock together, right? We find comfort in talking the lingo, in sharing our circumstances, but I think we have to move out of it. It's here that I understood that, okay, sharing differences as much as similarities is easy. We can share differences. If I talk about attitude, working in one of the top 10 power cities in the world with a Fortune 200, S&P 200 company is extremely demanding. It's important that we understand what the organization stands for. Are you up for the long hours, but the long hours that you believe in? So I don't remember a week where I haven't had 65 to 70 working hours. So I think that comes with the role, but it comes with the passion you have for your job as well. So do not look at the clock when you're trying to look at a goal. Goal and the clock don't go together. But that aside, I think my wife believes quite the contrary, and she's been doing pretty well. She believes that the work has to be balanced with family and with the self as well. So I agree to her, but I've not been able to manage that well. I wouldn't be a great proponent of that, but I believe people should keep their minds open and not be trapped in a clock culture environment. That said, I've worked with Koreans, with Germans, and now with Americans. Although the culture of the organization is different, what we understand is for the organization to grow, individuals like us have to grow as well. Case in point is, if you look at the New York Stock Exchange today, you have most of the companies that are there in the New York Stock Exchange have average lifespan of around 18 to 20 years. 5 to 6 years back, that lifespan was around 60 years. So the lifespan of a company is coming down, diminishing drastically. And it's diminishing drastically in India, more so in the US, because India is going through that metamorphosis at this point in time. Not the 1992, not the Industrial Revolution, it's now. If you look at the number of startups that have come in, the share gains that have happened, the amount of change that you see in the BSE, you will really start to wonder what the situation will be in the next 5 years. Would you see the names at the top? Probably not. So that said, the company that I am in, Stanley Black & Decker, is a 177-year-old company. It's extremely old. So the way they look at it is, they are very proud of the fact that they are able to issue dividends and increasing dividends for 40 consecutive years. That's their plan. It's a public listed company. It cares for its shareholders. It never for once talks about the new products that is launched, or the greats, or the people that are at helm. Jim Lurie, our CEO, is a visionary. He's come from General Electric. He was a celebrated person at GE, but never in his keynote address will he celebrate himself. And I've seen a lot of leaders around the world do that. They celebrate themselves. The culture within the organization is, our stakeholders are the face of the organization. We've produced the world's first drill. We don't talk about it. We've produced the world's first cordless vacuum cleaner. We don't talk about it. We've produced the world's first steam mop. We don't talk about it. Every year, there are over 250 world's first produced, of which only 25 to 30 see the light of the day. A lot of innovation is happening, but innovation is happening to ensure that we keep our stakeholders, our shareholders, interested in the game. It's a very innovation-driven company. We do not believe in staying status quo and working in a process environment. So different organizations work differently. If you look at Germany, we work for Bosch, which had the range that was mostly there for 7 years at the time. They believe in building loyalty of products. People will know products by their name. People will swear by the kind of design and the quality and the experience that it extends. Different organizations think differently. Am I a successful marketer, or am I a successful business person? I think that would depend on solely the fact that, am I being able to adapt to the Korean, to the German, or in this case, the American culture, the organization culture. And I think that is something that each and every one of you would be able to acclimatize to, because you will come across different situations. And at the point in time, you'll feel extremely frustrated. We did too. We had no idea. This is all in retrospect that we are saying all good things. Back in the days, we didn't. Trust us. All of us were saying, it doesn't make sense. It's 2 a.m. We don't need to hear the game theory today. The game theory can wait till 9 a.m. tomorrow. So in a nutshell, I would go back to that comment that Dr. Kumar made. And this is very important. In the finite environment, if you win, you win. But you are in an infinite environment where if you win, you live to fight another day. And then again, you may win or you may not. But it is your choice whether you want to opt out of the game or stay in it. I think it's important that all of us learn to stay in the game. And I think these 2 years will help all of us to stay in the game, to know how to stay in the game. Come what may, whatever be the environment, stay in the game. Don't throw in the towel. Even if you don't make a start that you would like to have. I know my peers here, they started with McKinsey. and they are still with me here. So the start is important, but the start is not definitive. It's what you do after it that really defines where you go and where life takes you. So I think with that, I would like to take some questions and some inputs from the team and try and contribute to the best that I can.
Okay. So Rahul, I'll read out the questions for you. So
Sure.
questions, guys, I request you to share your questions on Q&A rather than on chat, so that I can only have one window. Okay. So, okay, let's take the questions. Vaibhav is asking you how ISB&M helped you achieve such a milestone. What will you prefer, MIM in Europe or MBA in India?
It's a very interesting question. I wouldn't prefer studying again, Vaibhav. I struggled through my education. I love working instead, but no, I do not have any regrets. And in fact, I celebrate my time that I've spent at ISB&M. Okay, um, in terms of giving me the confidence in myself, it's very important that I talk about myself today and not about the and not hide behind brands of institutes. ISB&M makes you very, very confident of yourself. It allows you to be a self-driven individual at the end of the day, and I think that nobody can take from. Okay, so I would clearly say that the infrastructure in India is one of the best in its kind, and we've got grads from Belgium, we've got grads from US. US has got one of the best B schools in the world. Of course, you if you're getting the opportunity, you can probably pursue. But I have not had regrets having graduated from where I have.
Rohan is asking you, how was your overall experience in LG?
Overall experience in LG was a mixed bag. LG as an organization is a very, very big organization, and it's a good start for somebody who is new and who's joining in. Okay, because you're set in processes. Do you have the liberty to do things more entrepreneurially? Probably not. So you would be a part of a 3,000 strong army of executives that would probably do what is designed to be done. So you understand the structures, the processes, and how business works. In terms of market share, LG is a brand to reckon with still in India and globally. In terms of technology, it has got an amazing pipeline of new products that come in. In terms of shareholder value back in Korea, it's a very strong organization. So yes, LG is amazing. I think I got the lift in my career with the breakthrough that I got from LG, and that was fantastic. And I owe my initial learning to LG. I found my mentor at LG, person who recently passed away last month. He after moving out of LG, he was the one who started the chain Reliance Digital. It was back in 2013 that he spoke of the concept of omnichannel and digital, where I think the world wasn't talking digital. So I met visionary leaders at LG. That tells you a bit about the kind of people that you would have there in the leadership. Very strong visionary people. You can learn a lot.
Okay. Ritesh is asking, how difficult is cold calling or B2C markets in the sales and marketing field to achieve a given target for a fresher?
I think, Ritesh, we'll have to look at the fundamentals first. Okay. Cold calling is a part of reaching out to your customer. Yeah. How difficult is it? Depends on how difficult you make it to be. At the end of the day, do you understand your product or your service? If you do, Do you understand your pitch? And this is where again my elevator, Lancer, and Innova pitch comes in. None of the people have got a lot of time to hear to you. Okay? You might get 2 minutes to interest them or 3 minutes to interest them. Create that pitch for them to get interested. Set realistic targets for yourself that you would not be able to convert more than 1%. So, basis your target, you have to then set up your database. You've got to understand, okay, if I have to do cold calling, I have to ensure that if my target is to convert 1,000 people, I might have to look at an entire universe of 10 lakh people, because I do not know how the conversion rate would be. How many of them would take the calls? How many of them would allow me to have a second revert? So, is cold calling effective? It is effective. Is it the most effective way? No, it is not. It was effective when you didn't have other mediums of reaching out to your customers. Can you reach out to them in all other accessible manner? Can you geo-target them? Can you classify your audience by the nature of their spends, by the nature of their habits, by their demography? How are you segmenting your customers and reaching out to them? That is what is more effective. I think what you spoke of is the means to get to your customer, but it has to be a more holistic approach on what the product is, whom do you want to sell to, and what mediums are most useful for you to use. I think this is where the concept of, I don't know how many of us know of this, the Peter principle, where we talk about the fact that, okay, people who are doing well, they are rewarded almost with promotions. And the cold calling concept has been handed over by this generation over the years that has said that, okay, cold calling is extremely important. Have we moved out of that concept? We as an organization has, because a lot of our business comes from B2B segments where we have to prospect new clients, facility management clients, we have to prospect healthcare individuals. Cold calling is a matter of past. We believe that we have to segment the data. We have to put in place a CRM, invest in people who can access the CRM and drive data through the digital platform. Look at reaching out via programmatic advertising. There are a lot of there's a lot of infrastructure that is in place that aids us, rather than us using age-old tactical ways to communicate with our customers. So it's a hybrid, I'll say. There are some industries that still require cold calling, and I'm completely respectful of that, but we don't. And if you ask me, I'd probably endorse the latter.
Okay. Prateek is asking, what matters more, studies or experiences in corporate world?
Both, Prateek. I think when I entered LG, we had focus group discussions where people were rattling principles and I didn't, because I was a mediocre student who didn't attend all the classes, but I understood that I was at a distinct disadvantage when I don't know certain aspects, certain theories that I should have. I think it's very important. People take education for granted. Please don't. I think the experience that you gain is extremely important, but be humble about the fact that classroom education and the education that you'll get in the next 2 years is invaluable. I think nothing can possibly replace that. At least in the first 1 year that you'll join the corporate, I think that will be your make or break, right? So you need something to fall back on. That's your education.
Thank you, Rahul. I think they'll take the classes very seriously now.
I hope.
Subhashish is asking some tips on work-life balance.
I think I'm not the right person to answer to that. I have a 1-year-old daughter. I don't know. She might just mistake me for a male nanny in the house because I do not give her time. But work-life balance is extremely important. I was reading Shubhashree an article on an aspect called work fatigue. Now, there are a lot of people who work 9 to 6, but they still have work fatigue, and there are a lot of people who work 9 to 9 or nine to two, sometimes like us. But it's important that when you're not working, you switch off. You have to switch off. If you switch off, you're giving your mind that space for your family, for yourself. You have to give yourself time to heal. A lot of the people who switch off physically, they turn their laptops off. They're constantly on their WhatsApp discussing work. They're constantly thinking about the next meeting that's going to happen next day. If that's the case, you are going to have mental fatigue. I think it's not so much about the physical. Rather than that, it's more the mental. Today, in this work from home environment that people are in, it's not work from home. I think we are misleading people. It's living out of work. I for the longest period of time, I've been at home. I've almost abused my home because I've always been at work. I've only used the bed to sleep. So that's why whenever I get a chance, I try and come to office. And whenever I finish work, I shut the laptop down and I try and make sure that if it is not very compelling, I would try and spend that time with myself and with my family and what makes me happy. I think it's a conscious effort that one needs to take. Even during the day, probably take some time to self-preserve, block your calendar by half an hour, try and read up, try and think of new things, try and understand what's happening around the globe, try and be intelligent because at the end of the day, like I said, if I am extremely knowledgeable and extremely boring, you won't hear me. So you would want to learn about interesting stuff, right? And for you to be relevant, you have to know what's happening around. You've got to give yourself that half an hour every day, at least. So I think work-life balance, I'll say self and work balance because we take life too seriously.
True that. Anjali is keen to know about your campus experience other than faculties and education.
Oh, it's been amazing. Okay, Anjali, I'll tell you a story here, and don't judge me for this. Um, I joined LG the first day, and I briefly mentioned that I was almost on the verge of being turned out. That was because of what ISBM taught me. You know what? ISB&M helps you create that work-life balance by making you celebrate work. If you've done something good, you celebrate, and we celebrated over beers. So when I went to LG, we were stationed in this place called Ansar Plaza, which is a residential complex where we got our apartments, and there were I think 25 management trainees. So the ISB&M in me came in, and I said, okay, we've made it to LG. We are going to be management trainees come tomorrow. Why don't we celebrate? So I bought beers for all the 25 of our fellow management trainee grads, and we had a party. And I think the premises got to know that okay, these guys are partying, but all too passionately. So the next day, this gets escalated to the HR department, and I get this is unbecoming of the culture within the organization where a new incumbent tries to do something like this. But then I think they reached out to Dr. Kumar, and Dr. Kumar brushed it out very brusquely. He said, the guys were having fun. You can't hang them for that. So if you ask me about my experience at ISBM, this is a classic example of it. We have enjoyed our time. We've lived our time at ISBM. Um, we have been very passionate about placing our students to the best organizations we could. We were very passionate about carrying that badge of ISB&M Kolkata on our shoulders. And we're very passionate about the way our teachers loved us. We loved our teachers back. There was a lot of respect for the faculty, for our visionary leader, for the values that ISB&M stands. So I I've seen, and more so my batch and my juniors, my immediate seniors as well. I've seen these 3 years at least to tell you more from a personal perspective, that they value their experience as one of their best experiences that they've had in their entire duration of life. So I think I value this. I value this as one of the best years of my life.
Okay. Karan is asking you, did you ever, that's interesting actually, did you ever get feeling of losing with your peers and quitting the game because you're not good enough?
Always, Karan. There has been occasions where I have not been the brightest in the room, and I started off conceding that. So, and I'm not the best speaker. There are people who always are better than me, and you know what? If you are getting used to that fact, it's best, because it doesn't help you grow if you're the best in the room. What that has extended is a sense of calm. If I have to select my own team, I want to principally be the worst performer in the team. I want to have a team that's all better than me. Each and every individual should be better than me. For the simple reason that that would help my team grow. And eventually that will help me grow. So yes, I wanted to put in the towel, but I also understood that being with people who are better than you is the best thing that can happen to you. So I've gotten used to it now. Everyone, most of the people that I have in the organization here are better than me. So it's a matter of
Okay.
even at home. There are 2 people now. I think both are better than me.
That's good to hear. And I like to add one thing over here, like the previous question. In ISB&M, we have this motto that work hard and party harder. So
Yes.
you'll be having a lot of fun over here.
Yes.
Sandeep is asking about your personal traits and professional skills that help you most.
Okay. Personal trait would be this. I think I'll again circle back to that experience where I was the first to be placed and almost the last placement cell member to leave the campus. Do not throw in the towel. Be extremely perseverant. And if you've undertaken a responsibility, finish it. Even if you don't finish it well, try and finish it. So this is one attribute that I had in person that I take with me and extend it to work. And I think this is an important skill that you need even today. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Kachi has also an interesting question. Do you read books? And if you read, would you like to suggest any?
I can suggest you start with Sun Tzu's Art of War. I think this is the right time for you to understand what the world's in store. Read George Orwell's 1984. It talks about the current post-truth climatic conditions, gives you a good perspective on the geopolitical view as well. I'm currently reading a book called The Class Act, which talks about you differentiating people on the basis of their future, not their past.
Oh.
So that's an extension of the Peter Principle, right? So you are actually trying to promote somebody by rewarding them for their previous performance, and that's how the culture has been in India, and that's how the culture has been in our educational system as well. If you've done exceedingly well and you've passed in class 6, you'll go to class 7. Are you ready for class 7? Because you've done exceedingly well in class 6 doesn't mean you're good in class 7.
That's nice.
What justifies it? So it's a very, 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 very interesting sort of a book that I'm reading. Yes, I am a voracious reader, and I try to stay in touch.
Okay. Karthik is asking one question, which I was also thinking that I'll ask you. You have been working in different companies for different work. How do you cope up with new different work? And my question was actually, how do you manage to, from the Korean culture to the German culture to the American culture? I mean, three totally different cultures across. How did you manage and how did you adapt to it?
So it's a personality type. I think I would be fatigued if I'm doing one job for more than 2 years. If I'm giving a task, and if it is a very focused sort of an objective that I have to meet, I would not be able, as a person, I'm not somebody who's able to do the same thing every day. I would look out to do new things. So it was in pursuit of that I moved roles. And if you would look at my journey within Stanley Black & Decker, they understand this as a concept. And they have constantly seen me as a transformation agent where I have been moved from one place to another. So every 1.5, 2 years, I've been shifted, I've been hopped, skipped, and jumped to other places. Even as recent as now, when I've moved into this new role, when I was asked, okay, what are the things that you want to do? Okay, these are the things that I want to do in the next 2 years. But after that, I want to move out. I'm not looking at this more than 2 years. It's very important that I fix definitive plans for myself. And it's not about the outside organization culture. At the end of the day, do I understand the core ethos of this organization? Yes, I do. Do I believe in it? Yes, I do. Am I in the same direction as the organization? Yes, I am. Do I want to do the same things that I have been doing historically? No. I want to do something new because I'll be stuck here or else. So that prompts me to move to different roles, different organizations. I think adaptability is often misused, but adaptability is more about how you convince yourself to change yourself and to believe in a new concept. If you believe in what the organization stands for, the new organization stands for, and what their leadership is trying to promote, and align to it, then you will fit into that organization. If you don't, then try and move out.
Okay. Rishabh is asking about what is your advice for future entrepreneurs?
Future entrepreneurs, don't put in your own capital. If you have a good idea, if you have a compelling idea, and I know of quite a few friends who have bounced ideas of me. One of them is Karan. Karan is a classic case. He was the placement coordinator when I was placement coordinator at ISB&M Kolkata. He was doing very well for himself, and when he decided to move on to become an entrepreneur, he had a very compelling idea. That compelling idea, he used it to conviction. If you have a very compelling idea and you know that this idea can work, go all out, give it all in. But if you think that you are also ran, then look at capital. Don't put your capex in.
Okay. There's one question again by Ritesh. How do you rate LinkedIn in today's world?
It's extremely important. It's extremely important for 2 or 3 things. One is for your personal brand. Second, for lead generation, and for critical information simulation. So, if you look at, say, for example, Saudi Arabia, they're looking at a very strategic project now where they are looking to diversify from being an oil-intensive economy to being this economy that promotes travel, that promotes biodiversity, and that promotes healthcare. Yeah, and they have announced their vision 2030. Their vision of 2030 was announced first on their LinkedIn platform and then as a press release. That's how strong it is. As a medium, LinkedIn is an extremely strong platform, and one should leverage it. I think even ISB&M as an institute, I think if you look at the brand in itself, if you look at the platform, LinkedIn is the strongest platform for ISB&M as well, and all the alumni network.
Yeah. So guys, if you don't have an account on LinkedIn, I think you should have. That's very important. I do believe.
If we don't have, I'm going on record and telling you this is criminal.
Yeah, it is. Prateek is asking about that he has the confidence, but how he can upgrade his convincing skills.
He has to convince me that he has the he said he has what?
He has the confidence, but how he can upgrade his convincing skills.
I'm not confident that he has the confidence. He has to convince me first.
Okay.
No, because you see, how do you say you have the confidence? If you're not convinced, you don't have the confidence.
True that.
Hmm.
One student is asking about what are the different places in India you have worked?
Different places. Okay, I started off with Bahadurgarh and Jhajjar. I moved to Greater Noida. Then I moved to a brief stint in Calcutta. Then I moved to Hyderabad. And finally, I moved to, no, I did my internship in Bangalore, and then I moved to Mumbai. So these are the places that I worked in India. Not very many. But during my stint in the India Insights team, I moved to 28 towns.
Okay.
So, yes.
That's huge. Priya is asking what, according to you, are going to be the most demanded job roles in future?
This is a very interesting but a question where I don't think people would be in a position to answer. I think today what's important is us looking at AI differently. All organizations are looking at it differently. So I think Pune has supply chain, right? Look at supply chain differently. Industry 4.0 has come in. We are decentralizing the whole concept of make where you sell. For the longest period of time, the world has been held captive by goods that are being made in particular hubs like China. With the tariffs going up, with the logistic costs going up, with freight going up, with customs changing, make where you sell is a concept of the industry 4.0 that a lot of the leading organizations are looking at pursuing. And as supply chain leaders today, one needs to understand how can you set up facilities and how can you scale up facilities in a matter of 2 years. India for the longest period of time has been pioneers in setting up facilities for certain sectors, but not all. How do we transform that? How do we move to a more industry 4.0 ready economy is something that we have to look at. Traditional roles like channel marketing would become far and few in between. Distribution management would be a role that organizations are actively looking to scale down. Digital marketing is extremely important. Data analytics. I say digital marketing, but I hold myself accountable for what I say. It's not digital marketing, it's marketing in a digital world. There is nothing called digital marketing today. Analytics is very important. Big data is important. And last but not the least, I think today the new normal tells us that one, and ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, you're an economics prof, right?
Yeah.
You need to, so everybody needs to understand the nitty-gritties of business and how money is made in the market across the industry. It's very important for us to have that culture and that understanding of how money is generated across. So the classic case is a discussion that we were having yesterday over a different topic altogether. We were talking about the debt to GDP, that the ratio for KSA. Now, Saudi has never faced fiscal debt in the longest period that they've been in, because of the wealth that they had, right? From oil. This is the first time that they are facing this.
They are only having two, oil and tourism. Second is tourism.
Exactly. Oil and tourism. So how do they diversify? Why do they diversify? Where do they diversify to? If they diversify, are they also going to become an also ran like the other nations that surround them? Why would they be able to attract people to invest their dollars in Saudi? So understanding the nature of money making is extremely important.
Okay. Rahul, I'll stop. I mean, there are so many questions that are pouring in. Do you have the time to take them? I guess
I can extend it by another 15 minutes if that is fine. But yeah, then I'll have a hard stop. I'll have a review.
Okay. So Vaibhav is asking, what should a student select as a major subject if he's interested in stock exchanges?
No subject. Vaibhav, I'd like to understand from you, what do you understand of the stock exchange? How do you read the stock exchange? Are you talking about broking? Or are you talking about, what are you talking about? Because this is a very generic question.
Yeah. Rohan, if you can reframe your question again, maybe I'll come back to you. Sorry, Vaibhav, if you can. Yeah. Prateek, you mentioned about supply chain. So Prateek is asking about, as a fresher with engineering degree and now MBA in marketing and supply chain, what should I keep in mind to get placed in a well-known company?
You've got to understand how supply chain works. If you're interested, that is, I'm assuming that you want to get into supply chain, or because you're doing dual specialization, would you want to get into marketing or supply chain? I think that's the question that we'll have to understand before I address the question.
Yeah, he has written yes.
Yes, right. Okay. So if you're wanting to get into supply chain, you have to understand which aspect of supply chain do you want to get into. Do you want to get into demand planning? Do you want to get into supply planning? Do you want to get into fulfillment? Which aspect? Do you want to get into factory, plant side? There are different aspects, different scopes. What are you interested in? Are you interested in analytics? Are you interested in understanding are you great at processes? If you're great at processes, you are a supply planning guy. You will know, you will abide by timelines. You will see how supply scenarios change. If you are somebody who is very interested with numbers, you would want to move into demand because you are reading through data, right? Ideally, I would say either when you start off, either move into the demand planning group where you understand how commodities work, how commodities function, then what happens to critical components, where are the critical components coming from, if it is actually coming from multiple geographies, what are the current parent conditions in the geography, how are you going to marry it to the product. So it's a very critical process if it is from the factory side. If it is an assembly or a warehousing job, I would probably suggest that look where you are getting into the manufacturing sector rather than the warehousing sector. So warehousing is more about stock keeping and getting inventory in as finished goods from different parts of the globe. But if you're talking about the manufacturing sector, then you've got a lot of aspects to learn.
Okay. Vartika is asking about your favorite part about working in Stanley Black & Decker.
Favorite part is probably the brands that I work for. I think there are 30 brands, 30 global brands that I represent today. Black & Decker is in DIY and in consumer. Stanley is the brand that made the first laser, the brand that made the first hammer and the chisel. DeWalt is a pioneer in power tools and construction. So if I have to name an industry that we are not a part of, it'll be difficult. So if you look at it, every Apple phone has got the small screws that are Stanley screws. Every automatic car that is fastened is by Stanley Automation. So it is so penetrated into our daily lives today that makes it particularly interesting, and the constant innovation that the organization is going through. We are not happy being the same organization in 2024. So there are a whole host of changes that are going to happen, and that excites me. We're not static.
Okay. Vaibhav has rephrased his question and he's writing it down. I'm into trading and investing in equity and want to extend it. Looking forward to understand it deeply in the form of business. So selecting finance as major will help me or not. I want to be an equity analyst.
It will be. It will be. It will be an immense help. How does he interpret certain workings, especially if he can interpret what's happening with certain companies that he wants to bet on. So he has to understand how he reads through financial reports of certain companies, and that is critical to how he spends. So if he's going to route it through a broker, then probably he doesn't need it. But if he's going to work on his own and this is something that is venerable, and if you have the time, you should do it. Uh, this is a criticism that I have about myself. I do not make my money work as hard as I work for it. So I agree. You should. I think finance would be a good option for Vaibhav if you are looking at trading yourself.
Okay. Mary is asking about, you have taken marketing and HR as your dual specialization. What made you more keen to choose marketing?
I always wanted to choose marketing. I didn't want to choose the other subject as retail. I had retail. I wanted to choose HR. That's why I took HR. But as a business professional, I wanted to take marketing, and that was my first choice. So there was no second thoughts about it.
Okay. Priya is asking one interesting question. Which subject combination with marketing has the highest bandwidth in the market?
Finance. I think a marketer, if you are a well-rounded marketer, you have to understand commercial. You have to understand how you interpret the P&L, every aspect of the P&L. Do you understand working capital? Do you understand how cash flows work? Do you interpret how to look at ROI? Yeah. So it's very important to be a complete marketer. You need to have the aspect of the P&L in mind. So somebody who is from finance would probably understand that better.
Okay. Which work culture did you like the most? Korean, German, or American?
I loved German because they allowed me to have as much fun as I could while I was at work. So the work culture was amazing, very cosmopolitan, and very easy. It allows you to fit into a role and grow into the role and even grow beyond the role. So definitely referencing German culture.
Pratik is interested to know about the background painting that you have. It is interesting, and he wants to know, what does this painting represent? Quite an observer.
This is an interesting question. It talks about I've been chasing shadows of mirages appearing at such randomness and then disappearing at flashes of instances. I do not know what it means, but one Sara Ahmed has painted this, and it looks nice. I think that's all that I know of it.
Okay. There's one question. Marketing plus data analytics is a good specialization.
It's a very lethal specialization. We didn't have this as a specialization, but if you have it, please opt for it. This is amazing. I think this will be a competitive advantage for you.
Okay. Avril is asking, is it absolutely necessary to know what career path you will be in the next 5 years? I have a dual specialization in finance and supply chain, and I'm a mechanical engineer with 2 years of international sales experience.
His name is
Avril.
Avril, when are you planning to get married?
Avril, you can just never.
Never. Okay. So he's pretty clear about his priorities. Yes. Then if you're so clear about not getting married, yes, you need to have a 5-year plan. I didn't. When I was at your juncture, I didn't have a 5-year plan, but I did have an immediate plan of the roles that I wanted to get into. But I was very open with the kind of challenges that would come with it, and I was also open and flexible in case that did not happen. So I wanted to get into marketing. I did not. I got into sales. That also rural sales, but I took it. It wasn't that I tried to find my way out. So
I think I'll take it as a last question because the questions are keep pouring in. Can you share some tips and which will help us to be successful in future? Some tips on being successful.
Try and wear a lot of gemstones because you might get lucky. I don't know how to answer this, ma'am, because I don't think there is a sure shot mechanism to be successful. The only thing is for you to understand your role beyond your tasks. So differentiate the tasks that you've been given to the roles that you've been given. Okay. for me, how I take certain responsibilities are, and this I'll only talk about myself. If I have been given a responsibility today, I have to look at what is my next potential role, and what are the responsibilities that I might have to undertake in that role. If I know that, and if I am trying to ready myself, and if I am able to express the kind of uh, expertise that are required in that role, if I'm able to demonstrate it, then I think I am in a better space to succeed when I get that chance. So always look at uh, placing yourself in the next role, simulate that environment for yourself. I think that is the one mantra, probably, if I have to
Yeah.
it in a way that that ideally works for me. But ideally there isn't any mantra as such. If
Yeah.
anybody tells me there is, then I don't know.
Everyone has their own success story. So with this, and most of the students were asking about your LinkedIn ID, I think you will come up with Rahul Chandra.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can send your request, and Rahul will happily accept it. So, and I know I have skipped questions, guys. We have a limited time, and maybe you can ask them. It's a series of webinars. So you, again, we will be meeting on Wednesday with a new guest. So I think you should keep those questions for the next guest. I think Rahul has answered all of them. Basically, I think I've skipped because of the limited time. So, but I hope you had a good session. I hope all your queries are being answered. And thank you so much, Rahul, for taking out your time and addressing a new batch of students.
Pleasure. Thank you so much. And all the best, guys. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun.
Okay. Okay, guys. Bye-bye. See you in the next session. Okay. Bye-bye. Yeah. Bye.